Good morning. Welcome to Albany Unitarian Universalist Society. My name is Sharon Babila, and I'm the Service Associate today. And before I introduce our guest in the pulpit, I just wanted to remind you that we have a new way of doing joys and sorrows. There are yellow cards in the order of service that you can fill out with your joy or sorrow and choose whether you want it read aloud, printed in windows, or for the minister only. So they're inside the order of service, so just a little heads up about that. So our leader today is Dr. Pam Collins, who's a retired English professor, a UU for a long time, and a returning member to our congregation. We're honored and privileged to have her do this service. It is a service of poetry for aspiration and inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Actually, I'm not really the person who's giving you the service. I'm only the one who is getting the ducks in a row, and the ducks are all sitting over there, and they're going to be wonderful. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. At midnight tonight, we will step into the year 2024 CE, a year in which we know there will be momentous decisions to be made. Perhaps you, like me, are anticipating some stress around this coming year. The signs are not altogether promising. There are, as always, glimmers of hope here and there. Although, as Emily Dickinson so famously reminded us, hope is a thing with feathers. I often feel those feathers fluttering somewhere in the center of my chest, threatening to take off. Anxiety seems to be a hallmark of our current age, threatening even the most optimistic among us, and yet, any good Buddhist will tell us that suffering is an existential inevitability, the shadow side of our beloved and much vaunted consciousness. To long for perfection can be fatal naivete and a waste of the present moment. The best we can do is find joy, comfort, persistence, and equanimity in our personal lives, and in so doing, model and radiate that stillness and determination to others. One way we Unitarian Universalists do that is to participate in a compassionate community, which you are doing this morning by being here. Here we share our joys and triumphs, our hurts and our worries, to invite solace from this caring community. We also reach out to the larger community for wisdom and insight, and among that larger community are the poets, to whom we look for artfully expressed words from the heart, which stir our imaginations and speak to our inner selves, where truth sits like a string, waiting to be plucked. Today, in this special year-end service, we offer you a sampling of such poems. 7 members of this community have chosen poems that speak to them, encouraging and inspiring them to find peace and purpose in their lives. As I read over their choices in preparation for the service, I noticed that many of them came out of a place of distress. Not too cheery for New Year's, I thought. Then again, it is often distress that drives us to the page as writers or readers. And as we know from our own ritual of joys and sorrows, healing begins with the sharing. Distress must be expressed, named, and explained. But we don't stop there. The next stage of the experience is the determination to overcome and carry on. As poet Naomi Sahib Nye suggests, you know you're going to be okay if you can still make a fist. I found a poem from George Eliot Lyon, American poet from Harlan, Kentucky, that I think explains this well. Its title is Growing Light. I write this poem out of darkness to you, who are also in darkness, because our lives demand it. This poem is a hand on your shoulder, a bone touch to go with you through the hard birth of vision. In other words, love shapes this poem, is the fist that holds the chisel, muscle that drags marble and burns with the weight of believing a face lives in the stone, a breathing word in the body. I tell you through the darkness, though the darkness has been ours, words will give us, give our eyes, open to promise, a growing light. Our 7 poets today have thoughtfully chosen the poems they are sharing with you, and I believe they have done so in the spirit of putting a hand on your shoulder, a bone touch to go with you. We invite you to listen carefully and let our words ignite you in a growing light. I have one correction. Shannon Simpson was not feeling well today and chose not to come, but Karen Kaufman is going to read her poem, which in fact is an original piece by Shannon. So we're glad that they made that adjustment. And now please join me in the words for lighting the chalice. Welcoming all free seekers of truth and meaning, we gather to excite the human spirit, to inspire its growth and development, to respond morally and ethically to a troubled world, and to sustain a nurturing religious community.
Good morning. Today I'm reading the inspirational poem If by Rudyard Kipling. Joseph Rudyard Kipling was an English novelist, short story writer, poet, and journalist. He was born in India, where I have visited, and he wrote my absolutely favorite book of all time, Captain's Courageous, about a fishing schooner based out of Gloucester, Massachusetts, where I have lived. I have been reading this poem, If, since I was a young man, and I knew I wanted to read it to you the minute I heard about this service. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. Yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and make dreams your master, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And what's more, you'll be a man, my son. Thank you.
My first year at Syracuse University, I was introduced to the poetry of Langston Hughes. A little closer? How's that? Okay. My first year English class at Syracuse University introduced me to a poem by Langston Hughes. He wrote Theme for English B about his experience as a Black student at Columbia in 1922. Before this class, I had never read anything by an African-American writer, but I did. I grew up in Cobleskill. I might explain that. But I felt a connection to Hughes because we were both tasked by our college English instructors to write something honest, something personal, something true. I have long forgotten what I wrote in my essay, but Langston Hughes's lives on. By the time I graduated from college, I had read many essays, poems, novels by African-American writers. I joined the Congress on Racial Equality, CORE, and I was participating in civil rights protests for equal housing and employment. 10 years later, having completed my graduate studies in literature, I took a job at Western Michigan University, and in my first semester there offered a course they had never had on the books before, a course in African American literature. So it's a poem that means a lot to me. Theme for English B by Langston Hughes. The instructor said, "Go home and write a page tonight, and let that page come out of you. Then it will be true." I wonder if it's that simple. I am 22, colored, born in Winston-Salem. I went to school there, then Durham, then here, to this college on the hill above Harlem. I am the only colored student in my class. The steps from the hill lead down into Harlem, through a park. Then I cross St. Nicholas, 8th Avenue, 7th, and I come to the Y, the Harlem Branch Y. There I take an elevator up to my room and sit down and write this page. It's not easy to know what is true for you or me at 22, my age. But I guess I'm what I feel and see and hear. Harlem, I hear you. I feel and see you. You hear, I hear you. You hear me. We two, you, me, talk on this page. I hear New York too. But me, who? Well, I like to eat and sleep, drink, and be in love. I like to work, read, learn, and understand life. I like a pipe for a Christmas present, or records, Bessie, Bop, or Bach. I guess being colored doesn't make me not like the same things other folks like, who are other races. So will my page be colored that I write? Being me, it will not be white, but it will be a part of you, instructor. You are white, yet a part of me, and I am a part of you. That's American. Sometimes, perhaps you don't want to be a part of me, nor do I want to be a part of you, but we are. That's true. As I learn from you, I guess you learn from me, although you're older and white and somewhat more free. This is my page for English B.
I value Two Tramps in Mud Time because it offers deep advice about how to live a fulfilling life, and it includes some insight into how to value physical work. I have a volunteer job at Bethlehem Central High School, At the last class in June, when I say goodbye to the students, I do so by reading this poem. You'll see why. Two Tramps in Mud Time by Robert Frost. This poem was originally published in 1936. Out of the mud, two strangers came and caught me splitting wood in the yard, and one of them put me off my aim by hailing cheerily, "Hit them hard." I knew pretty well why he had dropped behind and let the other go on away. I knew pretty well what he had in mind. He wanted to take my job for pay. Good blocks of oak it was I split, as large around as the chopping block, and every one I squarely hit fell splinterless as a cloven rock. The blows that a life of self-control spares to strike for the common good, that day, giving a loose to my soul, I spent on the unimportant wood. The sun was warm, but the wind was chill. You know how it is with an April day. When the sun is out and the wind is still, you're 1 month on in the middle of May. But if you so much as dare to speak, a cloud comes over the sunlit arch, a wind comes off a frozen peak, and you're 2 months back in the middle of March. A bluebird comes tenderly up to a light and turns to the wind to unruffle a plume. His song so pitched as not to excite a single flower as yet to bloom. It is snowing a flake, and he half knew winter was only playing possum. Except in color, he isn't blue, but he wouldn't advise a thing to blossom. The water, for which we may have to look in summertime with a witching wand, in every wheel ruts now a brook, in every print of hoof a pond. Be glad of water, but don't forget the lurking frost that in the earth beneath that will steal forth after the sun is set and show on the water its crystal teeth. The time when most I loved my task, the two must make me love it more by coming with what they came to ask. You'd think I'd never felt before the weight of an axe head poised aloft, the grip on earth of outspread feet, and the life of muscles rocking soft and smooth and moist in vernal heat. Out of the woods, two hulking tramps from sleeping God knows where last night, but not long since from the lumber camps. They thought all chopping was theirs of right. Men of the woods and lumberjacks, they judged me by their appropriate tool. Except as a fellow handled an axe, they had no way of knowing a fool. Nothing on either side was said. They knew they had but to stay their stay, and all their logic would fill my head as that I had no right to play with what was another man's work for gain. My right might be love, but theirs was need, and where the two exist in twain, theirs was the better right. Agreed. But yield who will to their separation, My object in living is to unite my avocation and my vocation, as my two eyes make one insight. Only where love and need are one, and the work is play for mortal stakes, is the deed ever really done for heaven and the future's sakes.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I chose to read the Desiderata because I find it so easy to feel like I'm falling into an abyss with all the world pulling at my mind and my senses. I find that the Desiderata brings me back to a sense of peace. Excuse me. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant, for they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly to the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born out of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be. And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy.
And now Michael Hornsby will start us off on part 2.
Good morning, everybody. Hello? Good morning. That was quite a segue into the sinking of the Titanic, actually. That song. Okay. Okay. The Sinking of the Titanic is a book-length poem that uses the wreck of the famous ocean liner as a symbol of Western culture. The final stanzas, which I will be reading today, have been described as a hymn to the fierce necessity of survival and to the truth-teller narrator who bears witness. This book was a gift to me from a professor when I was in a doctoral program for comparative literature back in 1979, and he gave it to me as one of these initial gifts as a new graduate student, and I was taking his translation class. So Hans Magnus Enzensberger is a German poet, and he wrote the poem in the original German, and then he translated it into English, and it is a brilliant piece of work. Soaked to the skin, I peer through the drizzle, and I perceive my fellow beings clutching wet trunks, leaning against the wind. Dimly, I see their livid faces, blurred by the slanting rain. I don't think it's second sight. It must be the weather. They're right on the brink. I warn them. I cry, for instance, "There's the brink. Watch out. You're treading slippery ground, ladies and gentlemen." But they just give me a feeble smile, and gallantly they retort, "Same to you." I ask myself, is it just a matter of a few dozen passengers? Or do I watch the whole human race over there, haphazardly hang on to some run-down cruise liner fit for the scrapyard and headed for self-destruction? I cannot be sure. I'm dripping wet, and I listen. It's hard to say who the seafarers over there may be, each of them clutching a suitcase, a leek green talisman, a dinosaur, or a laurel wreath. I hear their feeble laughs, and I shout at them unintelligible words. The unknown man covering his head with sodden newspapers is presumably K, an itinerant biscuit salesman. I have no idea who the man with the beard is. The one with the maul stick is a painter called Solomon P. The lady who sneezes incessantly must be Marilyn Monroe, while the gentleman clad in white, holding a manuscript wrapped in black oilcloth, is undoubtedly Dante. These people are filled to the brim with hope and with criminal energy. In the downpour, they keep their dinosaurs on the leash. They open their suitcases and lock them again, chanting in unison, "The world will end on May 13. We die, and that is awfully mean." Hard to say who is laughing here, who pays attention to me and who doesn't, in this steam bath around me, how close we are to the brink. I can see my fellow beings going down very gradually, and I call out to them and I explain, "I can see you going down very gradually." There's no reply. On the distant charter cruises, there are orchestras, playing feebly but gallantly. I deplore all this very much. I do not like the way they all die, soaked to the skin, in the drizzle. It is a pity. I am severely tempted to wail, "The doomsday year," I wail, "is not yet clear, so let's have another beer." But where have the dinosaurs gone, and where do all these sodden trunks come from, thousands and thousands of them drifting by? Utterly empty and abandoned to the waves. I wail and I swim. Business, I wail, as usual, everything lurching, everything under control, everything's okay. My fellow beings probably drowned in the drizzle. A pity, never mind. I bewail them, and so what? Dimly, hard to say why, I continue to wail and to swim.
Good morning. As Pam mentioned, Shannon is ill and couldn't come to read her original composition, and I thought it should be shared. And I hope I do it justice. I only saw it a little while ago for the first time, but I thought it was worth sharing. Shannon says, "This is a poem about my life, past, present, and future. Loneliness, light, and strength, to share hope when all feels lost, and the light when all you see is darkness." Deep inside a wounded heart are the memories of a childhood start. Aching pain that won't subside, ghosts of memories that never died. Every day feels like a fight, darkness lurking in the light, haunted by what was done, haunted by what is gone. Echoes of voices that once were heard, whispers of sickness that refuse to clear. Every step feels like a struggle. Every day feels like a juggle. Hope will not be dead. Healing is just ahead. Strength to move through the pain, happy memories to regain. The past may have left its mark, but it does not define her life. For she is the rooted tree that dances to the music of the storm.
That wasn't me. Maya Angelou wrote this poem for the inauguration of Bill Clinton in 1993. At the time, we were coming out of what we thought was a dark time for the presidency. We had no idea of the threats that were yet to come. There was a budding sense of optimism. In that time, I felt that this poem captured the balance between acknowledging the current and historical challenges and embracing hope for the future. And in this coming election year, when the choice we will make at the ballot box is the most dire it has ever been, I hope that this poem does that today as well. On the pulse of morning. A rock, a river, a tree. Host to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur, who left dried tokens of their sojourn here, on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us clearly, forcefully, "Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny. But seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words. Armed for slaughter, the rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles for profit, have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave me when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew you still knew nothing, the river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear, they all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me, here, beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed-on traveler, has been paid for. You, who gave me my first name, you, Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you, Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then, forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, the Italian, the Hungarian, the Pole. You, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Kru, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourselves beside me. I, that tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock. I, the river. I, the tree. I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands. Mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not be wedded to forever, to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change here on the pulse of this fine day. May you have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country, no less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here, on the pulse of this new day, may you have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
I sense that you might like an opportunity to thank these readers for their thoughtful sharings this morning.
An important way we celebrate life each Sunday is by offering an opportunity to practice generosity. Members and friends support our congregation with an annual pledge paid throughout the year. Another way to support the good work of this congregation and the heating system and the hot water is by making a generous contribution as we pass the plate, or via one of the options shown on this next slide. If you are joining us virtually, you can click on the tiny URL link in the chat window to contribute, or you can send a text to the number shown on the screen. The examples on the slide show how to label your text to indicate the amount and the purpose of your gift. Our offertory music is Honor the Dark, words and music by Leah Morris.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. As the butterfly slips from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon. Sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. Let the darkness heal until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, certainty and change. Deliver us from fear until there's only love remains. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
Good morning, everyone. Love to see everyone here on this last day of Roman calendar 2023. My name is Annie Lipinski, and I'm serving as the Pastoral Care Associate this morning, here for listening support. This is the time set aside in our service, and today just for acknowledging your joys or sorrows. There will be no spoken joys or concerns. However, you could submit written joys or concerns as mentioned by Sharon at the beginning of the service on these yellow cards. If you need a card or need a pen, the ushers have more available for you. Raise your hand if anybody needs anything. And then when it's time to come up and move a stone, you can drop those written joys or sorrows in the basket sitting on the table. So those wishing to move a stone, please come forward and do that. And as you wish, drop your card in the basket on the table. And I'll move a stone for all of those extra joys and sorrows. And for the prayer of affirmation, I thought it would be appropriate to choose a poem. This is portions of a poem written by Joy Harjo, who has been the U.S. Poet Laureate and the first woman as a Native American to do that. The title is Perhaps the World Ends Here. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor, falling down selves, and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite.
We'd like to get to know guests and visitors to our service. If you'd like to tell us who you are and where you're from, those here in Community Hall should stand or raise your hand, and Chuck will bring you a microphone so that everyone can hear you. Zoom visitors can click on the raised hand symbol, and our technician, Leah, will invite you to unmute and introduce yourself.
Good morning. I'm Bill McTiernan from Schenectady. No service in Schenectady today, so I decided to come in and share the service with you all today. It's my pleasure.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm John, and this is Penny Stover. We live in Albany, and we've been here for about a year, and we're just happy to be here today. So thanks very much for having us.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. My name is Ingrid Espinosa. I used to come here more than 11 years ago. I remember many faces, and now I'm making my way back. I loved this congregation, and coming back really reminds me of why I loved it. And now I'm here with my son.
Hi, I'm Ilde Aplans.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. Is there anyone on Zoom, Leah? Okay. Thank you and welcome to all who have joined us today. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism, you can stop by the table in the lobby and speak with Barb Manning, our welcome table host. Those on Zoom can reach out through the chat window. There will also be opportunities to socialize and welcome newcomers after the service, both on Zoom and for those here in Community Hall. Thank you.
Well, I hope that somewhere in today's service, as you've journeyed along the various paths offered to you, that you've discovered a little gem, a smooth stone that you can put in the pocket of your heart and carry with you to remind you of all the ways we find to carry on, persist, ready to blossom into a mighty flower when the clouds break. I've always loved these lines from the Wood Song by the Indigo Girls. They sing, "But the wood is tired and the wood is old, and we'll make it fine if the weather, if the weather holds. But if the weather holds, we'll have missed the point. That's where I need to go." The Indigo Girls, as do we, know that anyone can sail in perfect weather. The trick is keeping the hand on the rudder when the storm hits. And what tools do we have to navigate that storm? We have infinitely expandable hearts, equally lush minds. We have community, family, and the natural world. And we have the poets, always at the ready to see the wondrous in the everyday, and willing to say the hard part out loud. Then show us the way out, the way to freedom. Let's make this covenant with one another for 2024, that whatever difficulties might arise, we will meet them head on, confident that love and truth will in the end prevail, and that together, if we are willing and strong, we can bring things round right. I'd like to leave you with one of my favorite poems, I guess, again from Poet Laureate Joy Harjo. It's called Eagle Poem. To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you. And know that there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know, except in moments steadily growing, and in language that aren't always sound, but other circles of motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky, in wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, And know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagle rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it be done in beauty, in beauty.
I draw your attention to the announcements printed in the order of service and shown on the screen. Those on Zoom are encouraged to join a breakout room for conversation and fellowship. You can click to accept the breakout room assignment when it appears on your screen. Those in Community Hall are invited to attend coffee hour in Channing Hall. We especially encourage guests and visitors to stay with us for coffee and refreshments. And we will extinguish the chapel. You want to say it?
Please join with me in the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Good to see you.
Daughter's